those whores you so kindly referenced." John shook his head and pressed a palm over his tattered shirt. "You will have to indulge on your own, good sir, for I have taken a wife." "Rest assured, I had no intention of indulging with you," Nathaniel said wryly. He kept private his surprise that Danforth had taken a wife, or rather, that he had found a woman willing to have him. He was a decent fellow, but for his addictions to women and alcohol, his preferences tending toward whichever was available at the moment. If the man had been married more than a fortnight, Nathaniel would be shocked that he had not been put to death for adultery. Puffing out his chest, John said, "Well, then, I do hope the voyage was ripe with the willing. Wouldn't do for a man to go too long." He tipped his head toward the ship, from which the lesser of the travelers still emerged. A young Englishwoman, one of the few Nathaniel had seen on board, took a number of uncertain steps on New World soil. He had spoken to her on a number of occasions and found her to be sweet-tempered, though infinitely nervous. Whether about the journey or the destination, he could not be sure. Perhaps she, too, had heard the talk of Salem and felt its unease. "There's one I wouldn't mind splitting," John observed of the Englishwoman. "Your wife," Nathaniel mused. "She is a lucky one." John waved a hand. "Didn't say I would do it, only that I wouldn't mind. How's about ye? Past time to make a woman your wife, is it not?" "Indeed, though I have yet to find a woman suitable for the task." His statement was true enough. Before leaving for London, he had been singularly focused on his studies. While there had been no shortage of women willing to decorate his arm. But once each learned he was living the life of a pauper, preferring saving to spending, their pursuit ended as quickly as it had begun. He had not been bothered, for he'd had no intention of making London his home. However, the long voyage back to the colonies had given him plenty of time to think. He had long thought he would return to settle in Salem, but in his short time back he found the prospect did not entice him. The ties he thought he'd left behind were long severed, and the world was a much bigger place than what was offered by the dreary harbor town. Instead, much of that time had been spent in preoccupation of taking a wife. He would not, however, have his father negotiate for him, as was custom. Nathaniel was his own man with his own amassed wealth. He cared not for his father's holdings, and as such, the only permission he needed was that of his future bride and her family. He knew not what awaited him in Salem, for he had been gone too long to harbor fair expectations. But one woman had held his attention throughout many years, and he hoped he would find her available, and he to her liking. Faith Downing. Thoughts of her brought the first traces of warmth he'd felt since he boarded the ship in London. "So, tell me, old man," John said, jarring Nathaniel from his thoughts. "Are ye here to see to the afflictions of your sisters?" Nathaniel's easy mood vanished. "What do you mean?" "Your sisters. They were the start of all this witchcraft nonsense. Claimed they were afflicted, and the whole damned village has been the armpit of hell ever since." John's voice lowered to a dark, conspiring tone. "Don't know if they spoke the truth, but the deaths number 20. 20? Nathaniel was not sure whether to believe John or not. On one hand, the man had never left Salem and must be as well versed to the talk as he was the air he breathed. On the other, he spent most of his time in the bottom of a cup. His might not be the clearest mind from which to glean knowledge. 20 dead, John confirmed. Over now, though, or so they say. The courts were dissolved last month, and the witches are to be freed. Your timing is well, with it being over." Nathaniel grabbed John by the shoulders.